Hey, today we're going to talk about how to change the O2 sensor on a 2000 Silverado. The code on the diagnostic scan tool said it was a Bank 2 Sensor 1 O2 sensor that was defective. By Bank 2 Sensor 1, they mean Bank 2, the passenger side. Or if you're using a front-wheel drive car, Bank 2 would be on towards the rear of the car. But anyways, on this truck, where the engine is sitting correct, Bank 2 is the passenger side. Sensor 1 means it's the first sensor in line in the exhaust. There will be another sensor farther down the exhaust, and that is called the downstream sensor. This one is called the upstream sensor, Sensor 1. So if you go to a parts store and they ask you, is it Bank 2 or Bank 1? Well, now you know it's Bank 2, passenger side. Then they will ask you, is it the upstream or downstream? Well, this is Sensor 1, so it is the upstream sensor. Now, to begin with, you have to find the sensor. It is located just off of the flange of the exhaust manifold on the passenger side. And I'm using a 7/8 wrench. And sometimes these can be a bear to get out, so they make a special socket to install and take these sensors to tighten them and loosen them. And it's a socket with a slot cut down the side of it. Well, I'm cheap. I'll just stick with my wrench. And the slot in the socket is for the wiring to pass through, because obviously you can't get a regular socket on it. In some cases, you may have to put a socket on it, but you will need to cut off the wiring. If the sensor is bad, it doesn't matter. If you're replacing the sensor to diagnose a problem, maybe, you might not want to cut that wiring just yet. So, using a wrench, loosen it up, which I've already broke this one loose. That's the hard part. Then the other part is here on the outside of the frame rail is the actual connector. So, trying to take it out with one hand. Alright, I disconnected it. First you have to pull this blue tab out that connects right here. Pull this out, it just locks the connector in. Now I've got the connector unhooked. There is a see it, a little locking tab that's holding the sensor wiring in place. And once I get that out, I will show you what that looks like. Okay, this is this little plastic tab right here that is just holding the wiring. It was up over this cab mount, so I just slid it forward a little bit so I can get to it by hand, and I will disconnect that and be able to pull the wiring out. Now, with the wiring disconnected here, you can see it goes over the frame rail and to the sensor. So just unscrew the sensor and get it out of your way. Now that the old sensor's out, we can see that there's not really any damage done to it. This was an intermittent problem, throwing a code, and it was causing the truck to run a little rough. So now that that's out of the way, we will put in the new sensor. What I just remembered is, though, it is good practice to use anti-seize on the threads of the new sensor. You can see it or not. So anyways, after I put anti-seize back on it, I will put it back in the hole. Okay, so the sensor's in, and I've just used my wrench to tighten it up and just get it really, good and tight. There may be a torque spec on it, but I've never known anyone to torque in an O2 sensor. It has a gasket on it that crushes, so whenever you go to tighten it, it'll seem like it's getting kind of tight, but all it's doing is crushing the gasket. Make sure it's tight, and you shouldn't ever have a problem with it trying to turn back out or leaking, hopefully. So anyways, that's in. I'll just got the connector here. I've ran it back over the frame rail in the stock location. And what I gotta do is push that back in. Like so. Put this little blue locking tab back on. It just pushes in like that, and basically just keeps it from disconnecting. And now we'll clear the diagnostic code in the computer. Okay, next we're going to do this extra step of clearing out the code, the O2 sensor code stored in the computer. You don't have to do this. If the sensor fixes the problem, it takes a couple starts and run times. You have to, cycle it a couple times driving it down the road, and it will clear itself out. Check engine light will go out. It'll keep the code in a stored history mode, and it won't go away for a while. I forget how many times you have to cycle it to go away. Some crazy now. I want to say 40 times or something. Anyways, a couple times that you start it and run it and go down the road, the sensor will act fine. The computer will see that everything's fine. It'll clear it itself. But I'm going to show you this extra step, just so that way if you want to do it yourself and diagnose more stuff, you can. This is an OBD2 vehicle. Anything 96 and older is considered OBD2. Really easy to work with. The diagnostic port on this particular truck is located close to the driver's door under the dash. So we will line it all up, get it plugged in. The key is on. This truck is filthy. Okay, so on this Actron auto scanner, this is a cheap one from Advanced Auto, AutoZone, O'Reilly's. I think all sell them. I think they're like 40 or 50 bucks. Worth every penny. It brings up this list of stuff to begin with. You just hit enter. Shows me my code. Okay, it's still showing no activity detected. Bank 2 sensor 1, the sensor we just replaced. And the heater, which is built into that particular sensor. We will go back, erase codes. Are you sure you want to erase diagnostic results and codes? Yes. Codes remaining 0. Okay. Now, hopefully, if we start the vehicle, it will not bring the code back. If it does, it'll be pretty quick, I think. No codes found. Okay. This may be one of those deals where it may take a couple of ignition cycles and actually running it down the road and getting it up to temperature before the code comes back again, if there is still a problem. I doubt there's going to be a problem. But anyways, that's how you go about fixing or replacing the O2 sensor on your 2000 Silverado or anything newer. This thing works. This O2 sensor would work on, I don't know, 2000 to 2013 maybe, not sure. Anyways, you can see that I am working in the driveway. It took longer to talk about it than it did to fix it, so it's just maybe a 5-minute job. Good luck.